Alright, so this is part 2 to my story about, I guess, how it was that we came to live here and what we've been going through about all this. So, yes, I think I left off with a realtor. She sent me a little itinerary of a few houses that, kind of met our criteria. Wasn't really anything jumping out at me just yet. And then like a day or two before we were gonna go on our little tour, she sent me the updated and final version, and last but not least was this house. First picture, just basically sold. Just had a warm glow to it, welcoming, completely surrounded by forest. It just checked off all the boxes. I didn't tell my husband about the update in the itinerary. We just went knowing that this house was going to be last. We pulled up to the driveway and just breath taken away. It was just wow. We did the whole house tour, and we just felt like, little kids on Christmas just running around the house and just like, this could be ours. Like, really, this is everything. It just had a warm glow, welcoming, quiet, safe, just everything. We immediately put our bid in, whatever it's called. We don't get picked. We don't get picked right away. I had a meltdown. I said, no. This is my house. So I wrote a letter to the owners, and I just, basically said, this is where we want to put our roots down and have our family, and this is where we want to raise our children, and this is perfect. This is everything. The first offer fell through, and they selected us. It was such an emotional roller coaster up and down, because it's a huge thing to buy a house, and it's everything I ever wanted, so I just didn't want anything to be messed up, and it was just very emotional. I think we found the house in October, and it was like 3 months later that we got the keys. And it was just a lot of back and forth. And even though I don't think we were filing as 1099 at the time, but we were working basically contractor jobs. So we were able to write off a lot of stuff on our taxes or whatever. For work, I had to buy supplies, and we used our personal cars. And anyways, so we were having a hard time getting everything finalized, but we did it, and it was just the greatest moment ever. And we got the keys, and a week later we moved in. Oh yeah, and my husband, he didn't move in right away because he was away at work. He drove I don't know how many hours just to come sign the papers, and he had to drive right back and turn back around and go. He was on a work. He was working out of state, so he wasn't even here for 3 months when when we moved in, and we moved in a blizzard, and oh man, I just had to get out of our little apartment. We had to go. I was done with it. I was over it, and we had the house, and it was amazing. And we took several trips back and forth in this blizzard, and we we got everything in the house, and that was it. And from then on, I never wanted to leave. This was my forever home, and I just couldn't be happier. I just always really loved the woods and the peace and the charm and the whimsicalness of being surrounded by nature. We had a thin strip of, really thin. Growing up when I was young, with my parents, we lived in like a development with just like a lot of cookie cutter houses all next to each other in a row, and just around, just maze of streets and houses that all looked very similar. And behind our house we had a little bit of forest, like a little strip of land between the houses behind us. So I spent a lot of time there, and it wasn't very grand, and I always just wanted my children to have a Beatrix Potter experience. That's what I've been saying lately. Just our antique house has stood the test of time. 1772 our house was built. It's pre-independence. I just really wanted my children just to we live in a very small, cute town. It's not even a town. I think it's considered a village. It's just like a really small community. And I think our house is in the top 20 oldest houses in the whole area. And it could be 12. It's 12 or 18. I don't really remember exactly what it was. I had a document at one time. But yeah, so we had so we moved in and we got settled. The honey came back from his work outing, his work out of state workingness, and we got to thinking, this is we got started our family, and couldn't be happier. Most beautiful children, so precious. And this is how they've been growing up around here, with just trees all around. So he comes running out the front door in the morning, and just he hops in his little motorized vehicle, and he goes about the yard and runs into the forest. He has little paths and little fort-like areas that he goes to, and one of them is up those steps into the rock wall over the side. I guess I didn't have any reason to think that the land over the rock wall belonged to anyone but the neighbors. But I don't know, I just always... So behind our house is all like 200 acres of state forest. On the other side is, it could be 200 acres of forest too. It's owned by residents, but I think most of it is, there's a little family that lives across the street, and they have a lot of acres that they all have their houses on, and around them, behind them is like a horse and cow type farm. So I'm sure like they just they use the land for, you know, hiking and horseback riding. It's not like residential. It's all quiet. So I went to the town hall one day, just, you know, went to the town hall one day and found out that I just was curious. I just wanted to know, you know, like border, like property line, like what is it really? It doesn't belong to us, which I knew. It doesn't belong to the neighbors on the other side of it. This little strip of forest here goes right up to their house. It's not a very, it's a rather thin strip of land. It's just enough where I can't see them or hear them or think about them. Like I said, I live in this house from 1772. I'm pretty old-fashioned. I'm very into preserving old things and, you know, land. Like I'm very into the environment around me. I'm like, you know, druid type, you know. Just want to live in the forest and this ancient house. The history here. So that little strip of land there was inherited by a little strip of land and 30 acres around it, including my house. And the property on the other side. 30 acres. These people inherited the land. My house was a farmhouse sitting on 30 acres. And when these people inherited the property and the house, they divided up the 30 acres and built on most of it. They inherited it like 40 years ago. Okay, so my house and the house on the other side is maybe 25 years old, 30, because they built it to people. But yeah, so people have been living in my house and the house on the other side of this forest, this arm of the forest, unknowing, you know, not thinking that our privacy, our safety, our sanctuary, our way of life, just not knowing that it could be, you know, it doesn't technically belong to either of us. It's really crazy. So I went to the people and I said, listen, I live in your house, or I live in this house. I didn't know it was their house yet. And I live here and I never want to move, and this is perfect, and I just want to preserve all the land around me because this is how I want to raise my children. I want them to live in the forest. It's all I ever wanted. It's all I ever dreamed of. And they were like, yeah, you know, it's not listed for sale and we'd love to sell it to you. At the time, I was in the middle of COVID, and I think I'll pause this video and I'll start the next one because I don't know how long these videos are. So, all right, see you in round 3.